here's the topic, or a portion of the topic that I don't mind talking about, but it annoys me to no end when I hear that supposedly men have a problem with a woman's success. Now, in your opinion, do you think that's true?
Well, I do, and this goes back to the dysfunctions that we have accepted about ourselves.
Okay.
So there's certain men who are insecure. And if you're insecure, you're going to be threatened when a woman has success, because then you feel like, well, what's she doing with me if I'm not successful? Or if she's more successful than me, then that's not, she may not need me. She may feel she doesn't need me. The reality of the situation, I mean, especially for black men, black women receive degrees more. They're in jobs for long. They make more money than black men. I think we're the only group for which that's true. So, if a woman makes more than you or is successful, and you have a problem with that, I mean, you have a low self-worth. Because you're much more than the sum of your things. And if that's your only view of yourself is that you're the sum of your things, then, if she got more things than you, she got 2 cars, you got 1, automatically you're going to feel inferior in a relationship.
But wait now. Wait. Okay. Now, you're the sum of your things. Okay, cool. The society that we grow up in, it puts a heavy emphasis on what you have, not on who you are.
I agree.
The quality of a person comes in second, maybe even third place when it's up against cars or things and money. So now I'm not making excuses for guys who rate themselves according to how much they have and how much money they make. I'm not making excuses for it, but here's the reality. Okay, this is the reason. One of the reasons behind why a lot of black men think this way is because material items and money is such an important thing, especially when it comes to your black celebrities. The main guys that people look up to are your sports and your rappers, right? Your sports players and your rappers, all right? Generally, guys, especially the youth, they say, okay, well, if I want to be a man, I gotta have money. I gotta get money. Get money, get girls. Get money, get girls. And if you ain't got one of those, then you're not a man. So if you grow up with this mindset, and since they grow up with this mindset, this is what it is. The boys grow up with this mindset. They come up into manhood. Probably some of them just are only males, but they come into malehood. They still thinking this way, and then they do find this woman who they actually are, really into, and they want to hook up with this woman, but they feel inadequate. Now, again, I'm not making excuses, but this is the reason. This is the reality. So, what should that man do? How do you get around that?
Well, I think that we're not statistics. So regardless of what society says or what culture says, doesn't mean we're victims of it all the time.
Okay.
I mean, society says that white women are the most attractive, and that's who you should, try and get towards. But we still end up marrying black women, by and large, most of us do.
Yeah.
Despite what, black women may think, and what society may say. But, so, I mean, the point is that, of course, this is a consumerism culture, but that doesn't mean that in relationship we don't find other ways to find our worth. I mean, if you're doing the best, I think a lot of times what happens is when we're not living our full mission, it's easy for us to feel inadequate. If you're doing everything you're supposed to do, let's say you were meant to be a painter, and you have this gift to paint, and you are, driving a tow truck instead of that, then you're not going to feel adequate, because it has nothing to do with money. It's because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, nobody else can tell you any different, because you're going to feel full, and you're going to give that to another person. It's when we accept less for ourselves that it's easy for us to try and bring somebody else down, or we don't want to see somebody else. We don't want to see a woman who's living up to that expectation. But if we're doing what we're supposed to do, I think it's difficult for somebody to say, well, I'm mad at her for doing what she's supposed to do, or I'm gonna put her down for doing what she's supposed to do.
And just to chime in on that, I had a 13-year-old tell me the other day in class, we were discussing success, and we have to get to a point where we measure success on accomplishing our own objectives and goals. Money does not make you successful. You know, there are rappers who have millions of dollars, and there's still some neighborhoods that they can't live in. There's still some restaurants that they can't go to. Does that make them any less successful? In a sense, I would think that it does, because you can't do everything that you want to do. To mirror that to our discussion today, we have to look at it and understand that just because a woman makes more money does not make her more successful. She may be a success, true enough, in her own eyes, because she has achieved her own goals and objectives. But like Brother Day said, if you are not doing what you're supposed to do, then you're not successful. If you set out to graduate from college and after year one you decided to drop out, then as far as going to college is concerned, you're unsuccessful. Does that make you an unsuccessful person? No, it doesn't. If you aspired to be a painter and you went out and started painting, then you're successful. If you went and wanted to become a barber and got your barber's license and decided to cut hair in the backyard, you're a barber. It's successful. Do men have a problem with it? Sometimes, yes, because the society we live in, we first of all equate success with money and material things. And yes, our society does push on us that the more money you have, the more power you should have. So I think at some point, I think it all becomes a power struggle. Who makes the most money decides the most decisions. And sometimes a man cannot handle a woman having more money and being able to make more decisions, because to a weak-minded adult male, that's stripping him of his power. Now I'm not the head of the household. Now I'm not the person wearing the breeches. The woman is. But at the end of the day, we have to get back to a point like Brother Day said about the culture in Africa. If women could be queens, if women were the head of household, then why not? If they're helping us achieve our goal, like if we're together as two being one, then it does not matter who's making the most, as long as both are contributing. You know, you can have a man who makes $100,000 and a woman who sits at home and does absolutely nothing but blows the money. Is he going to be any happier than the man who has a woman who's making $100,000 and he only makes 20? You know, I look at my own relationship sometimes and say, I don't mind being a teacher and making $45,000, $50,000. If I could run into a woman who made $70,000, $80,000, oh, bruh, it's a wrap. I'm shining shoes at night. I'm vacuuming. I'm ironing panties. I'm folding bras out the dryer. Whatever you need, I got it. Because I know at the end of the day, if I can't afford it, and she's my woman, if I've been giving to her just like you said, I've been showing her the love that she wants, she's not going to have a problem helping me out. Hey, baby, let me get 50. Well, baby, since you did so well, then here's 250. I'm going back too. So we have to get to a point as men where we stop looking at the dollar sign. The dollar sign, we're not worth money. You know, I don't care what E tells you. You know, Brother Day's worth $36 million. Unless Brother Day can walk to Bank of America and say, give me all $36 million in cash right now, it doesn't matter to me. You know, but if you're constantly cultivating someone, making someone better, then I think that you're doing your role. And I think that both the man and the woman can then sit down and come to a consensus and say, well, hey, baby, we're both successful. Because in the things that you helped me to do that may not have been materialistic, it's those intangible things. That day when I needed your love and money couldn't buy it, you gave it to me. You know, so we have to make our relationships worth more than the money, instead of letting the money be worth more than our relationships.
See, I gotta get in on that because I gotta co-sign on that right there.
Right.
Because I mean, you know, I think the first episode, you know, one thing I said was I am because we are, and we are because I am.
Exactly.
And so, you know, if my woman is successful, then I'm successful.
There you go.
And if you don't have that kind of way of looking at it, it's gonna be a battle all the time. And if she doesn't look at it like that, you know, if somebody else is threatened, I mean, if I see somebody in the community, if I see my next door neighbor being successful, that's gonna help me out. Because guess what? If they put money into their house, property values of everybody's gonna go up.
Right.
So, you know, for me to say, to put someone else's success down, I'm putting myself down. Because they, especially my, you know, the woman that I'm with, because she's supposed to be a reflection of me. And so if I can't stand her success, what does that say about me? So I gotta co-sign on that.
Man, I could co-sign as well. No, it just gotta be done. It has to be done. I remember back going to either the first or the second episode, we was talking about how a man has to know his role. How a man has to know what his role is and to walk his own path. And if you're walking your own path, then you will do what needs to be done to be fulfilled. So if you're walking your path, that means you know where you're supposed to go. In other words, you know what career you're supposed to take. You know what your calling is, all right? If your calling is to be a teacher, all right, then you will be sufficient as a teacher. And no other person, you know, you're making $45,000, $50,000, you're good because you're teaching. This is what you're calling. This is your gift, and you love to do it. So no one can look down their nose to you for being a teacher. And like you said, you know, you come across a woman who's a nurse or a doctor making $80 to $110, $120, $200,000. You know, that's still not gonna shake you because you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're walking your own path. But also not just the money, but sometimes what your job is, the title of your job can have an effect to how valuable, you know, you perceive yourself to be as a man. So like, yeah, true enough, you could be called to be a painter. You could be great at what you do as a painter, but you're a painter who's looking at this woman who's a doctor. You know, you may be financially sound. You may be a very, very successful person as a painter, but you're a painter who's dating a woman who's a doctor, and her sister is a doctor, and her brother is a doctor, and her parents, they're doctors, and a few of her aunts and uncles, they're also, you got a family full of doctors, you come in here, what do? I paint for a living. And a lot of guys, like you said, who are insecure, can have an issue with that. Even if they are financially sound, it's like the perception, or the look of it, or the sound of it, if it's not right, it could be kind of, you know, detrimental to his self-esteem. You know, that's a problem. It exists. It does. What can they do about it? Get over it.
and you know, I was about to say the same thing. You know,
you better be loving it. All right, so give us a sec. We're gonna readjust the camera and everything. Give Brother California in on this. All right, so.
He can help you up when you are down. Get a brother do for me. He can be your eyes when you can't see. Get a brother do for me. He can help me be